ever tried going without food? It doesn't take long before you're really hungry. The truth is, we all need to eat. In fact, it doesn't matter whether you're a bird, a fish, a plant, or a human being, like you and me. All living things need energy to live, and nearly all of this energy comes from the sun. Now, standing outside in the sun isn't going to stop us from feeling hungry. We still need to eat for energy. But there are organisms that can capture energy directly from the sun. Plants, algae, and some bacteria. These organisms are producers, and they use a process called photosynthesis to make their own food. They combine simple chemicals with light energy from the sun to produce chemical energy, glucose, as well as oxygen. Some of the chemical energy keeps the producer alive, supplying its day-to-day energy demands, and the rest is stored in their cells. The stored energy is available to all consumers on the planet, including you and me. Take plants. For the herbivore, plants are an energy source just waiting to be eaten. But when a herbivore eats part of a plant, it doesn't gain all of the plant's energy. So where does the energy go? Well, only half of the plant is digested. The other half passes out as feces. Most of the energy from the digested half is then used for the herbivore's day-to-day life. And this utilized energy leaves a herbivore's body as heat. So that means only 10% of the plant material's energy is left to be stored in the herbivore's body. In turn, if a carnivore eats our herbivore, around half of the energy contained in the herbivore passes out undigested. The parts that are digested provide energy for the carnivore's day-to-day activities. And just like the herbivore, most of this digested energy leaves its body as heat. Only 10% of the energy in the herbivore ends up stored in the carnivore. So, of the energy contained in the original plant meal, only 10% makes its way into the herbivore, and only 10% of the herbivore's energy makes its way into the carnivore. That means only 1% of the energy originally contained in the plant ends up as part of the carnivore. This story of energy transfer happens every time one organism eats another. Whether it's a producer being eaten by a consumer or a consumer eating another consumer. The world and the soil is just as dependent on producers capturing the sun's energy. This beta larva is a herbivore. Like above-ground herbivores, it only gains a fraction of the energy contained in the root material it eats. And like above-ground carnivores, the pseudoscorpion that eats the larva gains an even smaller fraction of the plant's energy. Energy also enters the soil ecosystem in another way. When things die, if they're not scavenged by above-ground consumers, they usually end up in the soil. Once there, dead organisms are eaten by tiny consumers called decomposers. Decomposers prefer their food dead and buried. They break down the dead stuff, and some of the energy they gain from this leaves as heat. Decomposers are also food for other consumers like detritivores, such as this springtail. And springtails are food for carnivores like pseudoscorpions. Just like in above-ground food chains, when energy moves from one consumer to the next, some energy is lost as heat and in feces. Food chains like this one are a great way of showing direct feeding relationships, but a food web helps you see the wider connections. After all, many consumers eat different types of food and can be eaten by different types of predators, and that means energy flows through different pathways. Once you start to map this out, you soon discover life is pretty complex. So, the amount of energy available to consumers on our planet depends on producers converting the sun's energy to chemical energy. And as this energy flows along food chains, some of it is dissipated into the environment where it's no longer available to the next consumer. Luckily for us, our world has a continual supply of energy arriving from the sun. Without the sun, most life as we understand it wouldn't exist.